The rain hammered the cracked asphalt of Jake's auto repair like it was trying to punish the earth. Inside the open bay, a single fluorescent tube flickered above a 2008 Honda Civic that had coughed its last breath 2 miles back. The woman standing beside it looked like she'd been dragged through the same storm that killed her car, hair plastered to her face, cheap suit soaked through, one heel broken clean off. In her arms, she clutched a brown paper bag like it was the only thing keeping her afloat. Jake Harlan wiped his hands on a rag that had given up being clean years ago. 42 years old, grease under his fingernails since he was 16, and the kind of tired that lived in the bones. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours straight since Mia was born. His 8-year-old was currently asleep on the ratty couch in the office, one sock missing, clutching the stuffed giraffe she refused to outgrow. "How bad?" the woman asked, voice cracking like thin ice. Jake didn't sugarcoat. Never had the energy for it. Radiators shot. Hose split wide open. "You're looking at 400, maybe 450 with labor." Her face folded in on itself. Not crying, something worse. The quiet kind of breaking where the tears don't even bother showing up. She set the paper bag on the workbench like she was laying down a white flag. "I have $23 and this." She opened the bag. Inside was a sandwich wrapped in wax paper, thick sourdough, roast beef stacked high, horseradish sharp enough to cut through the smell of motor oil. "I was supposed to interview for a job I desperately need in 40 minutes. I don't even have bus fare left." Jake stared at the sandwich. He hadn't eaten since a stale granola bar at 6 a.m. His stomach growled loud enough to echo off the metal walls. Mia stirred on the couch and mumbled something about dinosaurs. He should have said no. His own bills were stacked higher than the sandwich meat. The electric company had already sent the red notice. But he looked at the woman shaking hands, at the way she kept glancing toward the street like someone might come save her and knowing no one would, and something in him cracked open the way her radiator hose had. "Leave the car," he said. "I'll have it ready by morning." "I can't pay." "You already did." He picked up the sandwich like it was payment in full and meant it. She opened her mouth, closed it, then did the only thing left. She whispered thank you so softly the rain almost swallowed it, and limped away into the storm. Jake ate half the sandwich standing up, wrapped the other half in fresh foil, and carried it to Mia. He woke her just enough to get a few bites in her before she fell back asleep. Then he worked through the night, new radiator, fresh hoses, flushed the coolant, even changed the oil because he found sludge thick as tar. By 5 a.m. the Civic purred like it had rolled off the lot yesterday. He left the keys under the mat with a note, "You've got places to be. Go." He didn't expect to ever see her again. The next morning, Jake was wrestling with a rusted bolt on a pickup when a black town car pulled into the lot, the kind of shiny that had never seen this zip code. A driver in a crisp suit got out, opened the back door, and the woman from yesterday stepped onto the oil-stained concrete wearing heels that cost more than Jake made in a week. She looked like a different species. Hair sleek, makeup perfect, eyes bright with something that looked dangerously like hope. "You fixed my car," she said, not a question. "Told you I would. You have no idea what you did." She reached into an expensive-looking bag and pulled out an envelope thick enough to choke a horse. "I got the job. Executive assistant to the CEO of Meridian Properties. Starting salary higher than I've ever dreamed." They asked why I was late. I told them the truth, about the single dad who took a sandwich as payment and gave me a miracle instead. Jake tried to step back, but she was faster. She pressed the envelope into his grease-black hand. "There's $10,000 in there. A thank you isn't enough, but it's a start." He stared at the envelope like it might bite him. "Ma'am, I can't. My name is Elena Voss. And you absolutely can." She glanced toward the office where Mia was coloring on the back of an invoice. "She yours?" Jake nodded once, throat tight. Elena's eyes softened in a way that made Jake's chest hurt. "My father raised me alone after my mom died. Mechanics shop in Tucson. He used to fix cars for people who couldn't pay too. Said kindness was the only debt worth carrying." Jake still hadn't moved. "There's more," she said quietly. "Meridian is developing the old textile mill on the river. We need a maintenance supervisor for the entire complex, someone honest, hardworking, who knows engines like breathing. Benefits. Real ones. Dental. The kind where your little girl never has to worry about a toothache again. The job's yours if you want it. The wrench slipped from Jake's hand and clanged to the floor like a gunshot. He thought of the foreclosure notice on his kitchen table. Of Mia falling asleep to the sound of him counting quarters for lunch money. Of every night he lay awake wondering how much longer he could keep the lights on. He looked at Elena, at the town car idling behind her, at his sleeping daughter who deserved so much more than he'd been able to give her. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Elena smiled, and it was the same smile from yesterday, only now it wasn't drowning. Say you'll let someone pay it forward for once. That night, Jake sat on the saggy couch in their tiny apartment, Mia curled against his side, and he told her they were moving into a real house with a yard big enough for a dog if she wanted one. She looked up at him with those serious brown eyes that saw too much. Did the sandwich lady really give you a new job, Daddy? Yeah, baby. She did. Mia considered this, then nodded like it made perfect sense. You gave her your kindness. She gave you hers back. That's how it works, right? Jake's eyes burned. He pressed a kiss to the top of her messy curls. Yeah, kiddo. That's exactly how it works. 6 months later, Jake stood in the gleaming lobby of the newly renovated Riverside Lofts, his buildings now, in a way. His name on the office door, Jacob Harlan, Director of Facilities. He wore a crisp shirt that didn't have a single grease stain. Mia's new school was 3 blocks away, and she walked there every morning with friends instead of taking the bus that sometimes never came. Elena became a regular fixture, first for coffee to discuss maintenance schedules, then for dinners that had nothing to do with work. She never pushed. Just showed up with takeout and board games, let Mia paint her nails electric blue, listened when Jake talked about the wife who left when Mia was 6 weeks old and never looked back. One evening, as snow started to fall soft and quiet over the river, Jake found Elena in the courtyard stringing Christmas lights around the big oak tree. Mia was helping by tangling herself in the cords. You know, he said, coming up behind her, I still have that wax paper from your sandwich. Kept it in my wallet like an idiot. She turned, cheeks pink from the cold. You're not an idiot. Pretty sure I am. Because I think I fell in love with you somewhere between the roast beef and the horseradish. Elena laughed, the sound bright enough to rival the lights. Good. Because I've been in love with you since you handed me those keys and told me I had places to be. Jake kissed her then, slow and certain, while Mia cheered loud enough to scare the pigeons. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine turned over smooth and strong, the way Jake had made Elena's run that rainy night, and it sounded like hope starting up all over again. Because sometimes all it takes is one person willing to accept a sandwich as payment. Sometimes kindness isn't a debt. It's an introduction. And every once in a while, the universe pays it forward in ways none of us see coming, until suddenly, we're standing in the snow, surrounded by Christmas lights and laughter and a little girl who will never have to fall asleep hungry again. All because one single dad believed a sandwich could be enough. And one stranger decided to prove he was right.